Baruch Shalom, in the name of Yeshua, we welcome you to another time of coming together just to explore the wonders and mysteries of our Father in heaven, Yeshua, Ruach HaKodesh. I'm honored that you're joining us. Tonight we're going to be talking about the name of our Father, Yehovah, which in Hebrew is spelled Yod-He-Vav-He. We're going to talk about that, the significance of his name. Why did he choose this name for us to engage with him? And there's just a lot of information. It's deep, it's rich, because it's him. And as we go into this, you just have to remember that our Father in heaven, he is everything we have ever thought him to be or believed him to be, wherever you are in your relationship with him. But he is also so much more. And one of the great scientists of the past centuries is Tesla, Nikolai Tesla. He made this statement that if you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequencies, and vibrations. Basically what he's saying is you cannot think in terms of just physical realities if you want to understand the mysteries of the universe. And the same is true when it comes to engaging with our Father. Our Father created the known realm. He created creation, the physical realm, but he is not limited to that. He is above that. Isaiah said it this way. He says, the heaven of heavens cannot contain him. So he is far above and beyond anything any of us and all of us together have ever imagined him to be. He is an energy, and he produces frequencies and vibrations that cause everything else to exist and vibrate in this realm. And so when we approach him that way, and you understand he wants us to engage with him, he wants us to encounter him in ever increasing and greater ways. Because of the increase of his kingdom, there will be no end. There are no floors, there are no ceilings when it comes to him and knowing him. You can go as high as you ever want to go because there is no end. There's no end to him. And throughout the ages to come, we have the joy and the privilege and honor of allowing him to continually reveal himself to us moment by moment, day by day, where you can encounter him and you get to a point where you encounter him and you go, wow, that is awesome, because that's what he is. And then you encounter that, and then he says, look over here, and you go, wow, look at that. That's awesome. And it's just a never ending reality in him. So we're going to look into Yehovah. We're going to look into these four letters. These are the four Hebrew living letters, living beings that make up his name, Yehovah. And just as a reminder that the Hebrew is not a dead language. Hebrew is not just strokes of ink on paper or board. It's not language like we have been accustomed to grow up to know as language. It's not. It is a living, breathing, energy, living substance. The Father created them in Genesis 1:1. It says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's the English translation. In the Hebrew, it's Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. That word et in there is not translated in English. The word et is the Aleph Tav. It is all of the Hebrew living beings. So the Father actually created Hebrew in Genesis 1:1. He created these living beings, and they're there to help us know and understand and interact with him more and more, deeper, in greater and greater ways. And so as we approach understanding him, and we look at these letters, you have to think, they're not just letters, they're actually living beings that want to help us know our Father in heaven, and know Yeshua, and know Ruach HaKodesh, and know all that there is to know about heaven and earth. So actually, Genesis 1:1 actually should read, in the beginning, the Father created the et, the Hebrew living beings, the Hebrew, what we call language, and from that, he created the heavens and the earth. So these living letters, they are an integral part of all of creation. They are embedded in the very substructure of all of creation, and their energy that the Father put in them is something that's vibrating, and we can engage with that frequency that is in each one of these letters. So we want to begin with his name, Yod He Vav He. The Father chose this name. And it's interesting that this name, Jehovah, actually doesn't come into the consciousness in this earth realm until Moses. And he tells Moses, actually in Exodus chapter 6, he says, your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they knew me as El Shaddai, the all-sufficient one, the all-breasted one. But they did not know me by this name. It was through Moses that the Father revealed his name as Jehovah. What's significant about that? Well, if you remember, what was Moses facing? Moses was chosen by our Father in heaven to be the point person to go and deal with the largest world power at the time. And he equipped him with his name, Jehovah. And in doing that, Moses, being equipped with Jehovah, was greater than all of Egypt. And the same is true for us. We are equipped with that name. No matter what we're facing, us and our Father in his name, and the frequencies and vibrations and energies contained within his name is more than enough to deal with anything and everything we have to deal with. And then we also know in Isaiah, Jeremiah, the Father specifically says, Jehovah is my name. He declares it. The Father says, this is my name, Jehovah. And just for clarification, Jehovah in English is a lot of times written as it's starting with a J. There is no J in Hebrew, so it should be Jehovah, not Jehovah. The Father loves you if you say Jehovah. He's not. He knows your heart. But I'm just saying it's actually Jehovah, not Jehovah. So when we begin with his name, we start with the Yod. The Yod is, all of these living beings, they're powerful, they're rich, they all have something to help us come to understand our Father in heaven. But the Yod is what he chose to start his name with, the Yod. So what do we know about the Yod? The Yod happens to be the actual smallest letter. This is how you write the Yod. And actually, the Hebrew scholars will tell you the Yod is actually when you first put your pen down and the very first little that's the Yod. The Yod is like our atom. Everything in this created world is made of atoms. Well, every atom is made of Yods. The Yod is like the building block of everything. Every other letter is made of a series of Yods. So the Yod has this powerful place of being and releasing the energy of the Father to us that lets us know, as Paul wrote, everything in this creation is upheld by the word of his power. Everything is upheld by him. Everything is upheld by the Yod. It's this very smallest letter. So that's significant about the smallest letter. The smallest letter also brings us to understand being this word, humble. Humility is huge, 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 huge in the kingdom. When we come to our Father, we come to him understanding that he is the number one. He is the top. He's the king of the hill. There is no other God beside him. It's not up for debate. There just isn't. He and he alone is the only true and living Father in heaven and earth. Everything else is a false god. He is the only true and living God. And we come to him with that understanding, but also with the understanding that he has made us his sons. So he has made us in his image and in his likeness. And so we come to him in humility, but we come knowing that we're part of him. We're not separate from him. And actually, he even has said this. He says that when we come into Yeshua, step into Yeshua, believe in Christ, that we become one spirit with him, so that we become one with the yod. We become one with this energy system that is huge. It's just unlimited. The yod actually means that it is an energy system. It's an infinite energy system. Infinite. And within that energy system, it has and contains every possibility that could ever exist. So that really means that when we're engaging in the yod, when we're coming to our Father, the first thing we're encountering when we come to him is we are coming to him who contains an infinite amount of energy that can create anything, anywhere, anytime, in any dimension, in any way, because that's who he is. We come understanding we are engaging with the energy system of all time, of all creation, of all eternity. He is the one, the yod. He is that energy that it causes everything to be upheld and to exist. Without him, you can't get there. Another thing about the yod, as we understand, so like the yod is like a little dot, so you start at a dot. And it's also, you could look at it this way. When I come to him, I understand he knows everything there is to know about everything. There isn't anything he doesn't know. I come to him understanding I know a little, but everything that I know is a dot. Everything that everybody who has ever lived since Adam combined, all the knowledge, everything anybody has ever known, all combined up to this very moment, is still but a dot. We understand it's a dot. But when we come to that dot, then what happens is it begins to open up. And when you come to him and you come to the yod, you come with humility and you cross through that dot, then you begin to explore the unlimited, never-ending, ever-expanding reality of who he is. It's like a vortex. So the yod is extremely important for us to understand that. The yod actually has a value, a numeric value of 10. And you could go through scriptures and just study the number 10. There's so much about the number 10 that it's a wonderful, wonderful journey to go on, and we're not going to cover all that there is to do that. We could spend the rest of our time here doing that, and that's really not my point. What I really want to cover is the 10. Anything times 10 in Hebrew. So you have, it doesn't matter what number you pick, anything times 10. And in this case, 10 is 10 times 1. Anything times 10, 10 means the fullness. So when you see 10, it's the fullness of the 1. What is the 1? The 1 in Hebrew is the first living being, Aleph. Aleph, the Aleph is, the Aleph has the value of 26. And we'll find out that this name, YHVH, also has a value of 26, right? Because the Yod's 10. Hey, Vav, hey is 11, 20, or 15, 16, so it's 26. So we know that when you're talking about the Aleph, you're talking about Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. You're talking about Jehovah. So when we talk about the Yod, we know we are encountering this presence of our Father, that is the fullness of the presence of our Father. It is the fullness of everything He is. It is the fullness of everything that is in Him. The fullness of His love, the fullness of His compassion, the fullness of His mercy, the fullness of His justice, the fullness of everything that is in Him is represented in the Yod. And now you can begin to see why the Father gave His name to Moses, because it's front-loaded with the Yod. It's front-loaded with the fullness of everything that He is. And with that, when you have the fullness of Him, and you're engaging with the fullness, the energy system of the fullness of Him, Every possibility that could ever exist is available to you. There is nothing impossible to you. Yeshua told us, he says, everything is possible to those who believe. Nothing is impossible to our Father, the Yod. There's nothing impossible to him. There is not an impossibility to him. So when we're engaging in the Yod, we are entering into that energy that allows us to manifest and engage with the energy and the power and the wisdom and all that is in the Father to manifest any possibility that needs to be manifested in this earth realm. Remember, Yeshua asked us to pray in this manner. Our Father, Yod, the fullness of Yod, who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That is a prayer that is engaging YHVH, his name, Jehovah. And when we do that, we're engaging in the power and energy and frequencies and the vibrations that are emanating out from him all the time. And it is so vibrant, it is so full, it is so teeming with life and power and energy that you can, when you understand the Yod, you understand this living being, the Yod is helping us to engage and encounter him. You understand that you can pick up on that energy. You can pick up on the energy and the frequency of the Yod, of the fullness of the Father, and you can begin to feel that energy coming into you and flowing in you and flowing through you and energizing you with an energy that is not tainted by anything in the created realm, because he exists outside of creation. What do I mean by that? If this is the earth, and we'll just say this represents, that looks like a donut. This is the earth. Let's say this is the created realm. The created realm. Our Father Jehovah exists everywhere outside of here, as well as everything from here on out. The energy system of a father, it is, as one person, Ian Clayton, describes it, it is creative energy. It is creative light. It's not created energy. It's not created light. It's creative. So it transcends, it's higher, it's bigger, it's better, it's stronger, it's more vibrant than anything in this created realm. He exists, and this energy comes from outside of here. And when this energy comes outside of here and we bring it to earth, that's when we begin to see the manifestation of the kingdom of the Father in the earth. So the Yod, it's the fullness of the Aleph. The Aleph is 26. The Aleph has a numerical value of what? 1, right? Let's just talk about 1 for a minute. What does that signify? It signifies this. Oneness. Oneness with the Father is probably one of the most important desires in his heart. He so desires for us to engage in oneness. And he wants us to engage in the fullness of the oneness. Paul wrote this in Ephesians chapter 3, and he says that we can be strengthened with might by his Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, in our inner man, so that Christ can dwell in our hearts by faith, that we, being rooted and grounded in his love, are able to comprehend with all the saints what is the height and breadth and length and depth, and to know the love of Christ, which passes knowledge, and that we would be filled with all of the fullness of him. He wants us to be filled with the Yod. So when we begin to engage with YHVH, and we begin to release the sound of Yod through meditation or through singing or through contemplation, and we're engaging in the Yod, we are engaging in that prayer in Ephesians 3. All of the fullness of the Father, the Yod, begins to be poured into us. And we want to engage that. We want to engage that because oneness with the Father, He so wants to be one with you in everything that you do, everything you say, everything you breathe, every movement you make. He wants to be one with you. He wants to share a oneness with you that is beyond what we can comprehend in this earth realm even. But so when we're engaging this Yod, we begin to tap into that oneness that the Father wants us, the fullness of that oneness the Father wants us to engage in. So as we just begin to understand the Yod, there's so much more, and the Yod, as you engage with Yod will begin to reveal more and more and more to you about the fullness of the Father and all that He represents in the Father. But for now, I think that's just a good start, that we understand that when we're engaging His name, YHVH, we begin with the Yod. We begin with the dot. We expand into the unlimited, infinite energy of the Father, the infinite perfection of the Father, because He wants us to be a perfect reflection of Him. So if we see Him and know Him and encounter the perfect, infinite perfection that is in Him, then it begins to reflect in us and through us. And He wants that kind of oneness. He so desires to be one with you. So, thanks for joining me about the Yod, and we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to step into the hay.